This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with you. As always, we appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And plenty of football to get to. College football on Saturday, NFL on Sunday. So let's get right to it. And let's begin with some college football with Boise State traveling to Notre Dame.
What the fuck?
WTF.
The one good thing, Lee, about Notre Dame not affiliated with a conference is they could pretty much play whoever they want. And they get some fresh matchups. They faced Arkansas last week, blew them out. Now they host Boise State, headed to South Bend. Fighting Irish, heavy favorite here. But you like the underdog. So what are your thoughts here with Boise State and Notre Dame?
So I think Notre Dame is good. Do I think they are top 5 or top 10? Probably not, even though they've lost to two really good teams. So saw them here up close and personal. They're physical, but they lack a couple things. They don't have a burner on the outside at receiver, and they don't get to the quarterback. They got to the quarterback last year 40 times. This year, not even 10. So I think that's a real problem. It's putting stress on the secondary. And, 1 year you have everything go right. The next year you get a few injuries. They had their nose guard out, got hurt right before the season. I think they miss him. So Boise State, everyone remembers the first game this year. Who did they play? They played South Florida, and they looked terrible. Started off okay, and then turnovers. I think they were at a -3 turnover advantage. I think the heat, it was scorching hot that day. And South Florida played a really good game. So they get blown out on the road. They had to travel cross country. I think they've regained themselves. I think they've gotten their footing back. Now, they were probably a better team last year. They ran, I think it was for 14 touchdowns in the first 3 games against Division I opponents. This year, only 5. 5 in one game and 0 in the other 2. So they're going to have to pick it up there. But if they get a little bit of balance, if they don't fall behind, let's say 14 or 17 or 20 to nothing, I think they're going to be able to run some. And if they've got balance, I think they're going to be just fine here. They play with a chip on their shoulder. Both of these two teams need to win this game. Either team loses this game, I think they're pretty much done from having a chance to make to the college football playoff. So they have an experienced quarterback. They played in the college football playoff last year. Did they deserve a top 4 seed? Absolutely not. But they played well at times against Penn State. I think they were -2 or -3 turnovers in that game. So I think this is a quality team. I just think the line is overinflated. It should be like 2 touchdowns. You're getting almost 3 touchdowns here. I don't think they can win the game. I have Notre Dame winning this game, probably something like 27-17, but almost 3 touchdowns. I'm taking the Boise State Broncos here. Wrong team favored. Boise State covers.
Notre Dame, Lee, has really got to be kicking themselves for the Miami loss and losing at home to Texas A&M, because coming up after this, NC State at home, USC at home, at Boston College, Navy at home, at Pitt, Syracuse, and at Stanford. Like, they should win out or pretty much lose one at the most at this point. They'll probably still be in the college football playoff when it's all said and done with that schedule. But, man, you're coming that close. You even split the first 2, and you're in really good shape. And for Boise, when they get into Mountain West play, they should be able to cruise after this Notre Dame game. If they win this one, they'll be in really good shape, because they shouldn't lose any of those games, if not one.
Yeah, big game, both teams. Everyone's talking, obviously, about Alabama, Vanderbilt, Texas Tech, Houston, and Miami, and Florida State. But this game might have the most significance as far as, which team gets into the college football playoff. It's definitely an elimination game, in my opinion.
Now, you just brought up one game, and we don't have a play on it, but just wanted your thoughts. It's so funny how last year Vanderbilt, they beat Alabama. You thought that would never happen in a million years, and Vanderbilt has the game of a lifetime, and they outlast Alabama in that game at home, and Diego Pavia was great in that game, had some big plays. And now they face each other again this year in Tuscaloosa, where Alabama was laying 23.5 at Vandy, and now they're laying 10.5 at home to Vanderbilt. It's just such a swing, and Vandy's at 5-0. Clark Lee's done a great job with that program. That Vanderbilt is no longer the dogs of the SEC.
You got to think that he's not long for leaving. I mean, he's done an incredible job. I believe he has a general manager that basically helps. I think the guy was with the scouting service and able to procure some pretty good talent. So scouting is part of it. I mean, there's a lot of 5 stars that don't pan out. And then there's also a ton of guys that are 2 and 3 stars that are, really good football players and fit into your system. So just shows you, they don't have money. They probably have $2.5, $3 million as far as NIL money. Nothing, not even 1/15 probably of what Alabama has. So I think it's great for college football when that happens. And trust me, I think he's going to be moving on to a bigger school and he's probably going to make minimum $7, $8, maybe even $10 million. And he'll be able to call his shots because he's doing an incredible job.
Yeah, you could win at Vanderbilt. I'm not saying you could win anywhere, but that's a pretty impressive thing to say, to do that. We have Miami, Florida State coming up in just a little bit for the lock of the day. We're going to get to some NFL now, and a game that everyone's got their eyes on coming up on Sunday, the Titans and the Cardinals in Arizona. Time for a hidden gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
Am I wrong on that, Lee? This is not the game everyone's looking forward to?
I got one, maybe.
Well, we got Giants Saints coming up, so that's a fight to the finish. Both those, we're picking out the really good games this week. All right, so the Titans and the Cardinals, you could use this storyline that you have two former, well, I can't say former, but two number 1 picks, Cam Ward on the Titans side, Kyler Murray on the Arizona side. And I do like the under of 42 points in this game. And I understand a lot of things. And I know Lee and I talked about this before the show, that this is probably going to be the explosion game. But I can't get away from a couple of these things. Number 1, Tennessee has not scored a road touchdown this season. They were just shut out at Houston. And yes, eventually they could bust out. But 4 field goals on the road in 2 games. That's no good. Also, for the Cardinals, they've gone under the total in 3 of 4 games. It's their lowest total of the season. They look, I'll give them this. They did hold Seattle to 23 points after the Seahawks scored 31 and 44 points in the previous 2 games. So they did a good job there of slowing down the Seahawks. Both these teams in the bottom 5 in yards per game in the NFL. And also what the Cardinals have done pretty well. I mean, they've held some quarterbacks down a bit, I guess. I mean, Sam Darnold, 242 yards passing last week. Mac Jones did get 284 back in week 3. Bryce Young had 328 back in week 2, but he had 133 in the fourth quarter when Carolina was down 27-9. So he got a lot of those yards late. I do think that I just can't see Tennessee scoring. And, I can't see Arizona really scoring either. Arizona's got to throw the ball a lot because Trey Benson's hurt. James Conner's out for the year. I don't know who's going to be their running back. Stump Mitchell. I don't know what they're going to do at running back because they're running out of guys. But I just don't see the offense working here. This is going to be like a 20-16 game. I can't see it. And I know, Lee, I know the argument that eventually they have to bust out, but right now they're not. So until they do, I'm going with the under here. Hidden gem, under 42 between the Cardinals and the Titans on Sunday.
Maybe there's another possible play here, too. Tennessee's going to win a game. They're not going to go winless. They're bad, but they're not that bad. I found a stat. Since 2000, winless teams as a road underdog, 234 and 162, 59.1%. So you said 20-16. I don't know. Maybe taking the Titans here plus the points. Maybe that's a correlated parlay. Don't play many parlays, but if you like the under, then if there's not that many points scored, it's under 40 points scored. underdog has a good chance to cover.
I think they could hang in this game. I really do. You can't get blown out in all these games, and you just got blown out in back-to-back games against Indianapolis and Houston. They hung with Denver. They were in that Rams game for a bit. I got to think that they're going to turn around sooner or later, but I just can't see it being a high-scoring game there out in the desert. We still have a couple more NFL games to get to. We talked Giants-Saints, a big one from the Superdome coming up on Sunday. Also, Lions and the Bengals in Cincinnati. We'll see if Detroit can keep rolling. Also, Miami and Florida State and Tallahassee coming up on Saturday night. We have all of that to get to here on the Friday edition of Locked On Bets. Time now to talk about FanDuel. NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5. If it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And what can you bet on? A lot of NFL. It's a huge card coming up on Sunday as we head into Week 5 of the National Football League. Sides, totals, money lines, all of that. You have big games. Denver's at Philadelphia. Also, Tampa Bay at Seattle, the Sunday night game. Patriots and the Bills. Buffalo right now, they are the Super Bowl favorites at FanDuel. Josh Allen is the MVP favorite at FanDuel. So you have all those choices. You could bet on the futures. You could bet on the games. You could bet on the player props. All of that right now at FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. We continue here, Locked On Bets on a Friday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. We continue with the NFL and a game that many people are going to be keeping their eyes on, the Giants and the Saints. It's time now for our second Hidden Gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
Giants off their first win of the season. Jackson Dart, the toast of New York, and he takes the Giants down to the Big Easy. I don't know how easy it'll be, but we'll see against the Saints, who are winless. New Orleans hung with Buffalo last week. Can the Saints win a game with Spencer Rattler? We'll see. So, Lee, what do you like here? The Giants opened as a short favorite. Now it's flipped where New Orleans is short favorite. So, Giants, Saints, what do you like?
All right. So there was one person that I thought was responsible for the Giants winning the game last week. I'll let you take a guess who it was, Kevin.
Who was responsible for the Giants? I mean, I'm not going to say Jackson Dart because that'd be too easy. Cam Scatterbo?
Nope. He was a coach for the LA Chargers, Greg Roman. They had the ball on offense 54 snaps. Now, that's not a whole lot, but he ran the ball only 13 times. They threw the ball 41 times. I mean, the pass rush is pretty darn good for the Giants and created some problems. They had no balance at all. You would have thought that Jim Harbaugh would have stepped in and said, let's start running the ball at halftime a little bit more, but no. So there was not that balance there. Now the Giants, who I thought were gifted that game, not like they played well, for them, they played hard. They played actually pretty well. Now they got to go there to New Orleans without their star receiver, and it's not like they have a real good number two. Some teams, difference between number 1 and 2 isn't much. They have a bunch of guys that would be 3s, 4s, and 5s on other teams. Scatterbo has looked good, but they're just happy. You know, they won their first game. New Orleans, they've been competitive. I mean, this is a team that plays hard, not going to beat themselves. I just think we're going to see Jackson Dart regress here a little bit. His receivers on the small side, he can be a little erratic and start spraying the ball around. Sometimes it's high and inaccurate. And that's the case. I expect New Orleans to come up with a couple interceptions. They're going to win the first game here on Sunday. You can bet on it. I'm taking the New Orleans Saints here, minus a small spot. Hidden gem.
Yeah, you lose Malik Neighbors, obviously a huge loss for that New York team. And I just can't see Jackson Dart after that first game where really the numbers weren't great. We saw some nice runs out of him, and the Chargers still had an opportunity there late in the game to even tie it. So, yeah, good one for the Giants last week, but the Saints, they got to break through one of these weeks. You got to believe. So we'll see what happens. Giants and Saints coming up on Sunday in New Orleans. Now, one of the later games to kick off on Sunday, the Lions and the Bengals. Detroit looked awful in week 1, but they've been great the last 3 weeks. Cincinnati was 2-0, and they've been terrible the last 2 weeks. So we'll see how that goes. Lions a huge favor on the road. Time now for our blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
So the Lions, they have been scoring in bunches of late, and they dropped over 50 against Chicago back in week 2. They beat Baltimore on the road on Monday night in week 3. They took care of Cleveland last week. So now 3-1, the Lions back on track, back to being one of the NFC favorites. And the Bengals, understandably, Joe Burrow's out, so that's not helping the cause. But Jake Browning can't get this offense going. They've just been terrible at 13 points in the last 2 losses to Minnesota and Denver. They're off the Monday night game, now back at home. So, Lee, the Lions a heavy favorite here on the road. What do you like with them in Cincinnati?
Okay, so it's real easy just to blame the quarterback, and Jake Browning has not been very good at all. But let me tell you about that offensive line. It is absolutely horrendous. There's 3 or 4 plays in every game where Browning drops back to pass, and the offensive line, they don't even touch the defensive lineman. I don't know whether there is a miscommunication or they just don't want to engage. They are bad. There's 3 or 4 teams that have their offensive lines are awful. Dolphins is one of them. Houston Texans, horrible. These quarterbacks are running for their life. There's a reason Tua gets rid of the ball so quick. I just think here that Cincinnati's offensive numbers are awful. The adjustment since Joe Burrow's injury hasn't been there. It's resulted in the first game turnover after turnover after turnover. And then they faced Denver, and all they did was punt, punt, punt. So this is a team right now, I think that they know they can't compete. They know they're not going to make the playoffs. And, all the analytics, for every formation they've used, whether it's, 1 back, 2 tight ends, 3 receivers. I looked at every single formation, and every formation there's negative EPA. So when you get that, they're at least trying. They're trying different formations. There's some other teams like in college, Wyoming, they line up in the same stuff. They don't have talent. If you don't have talent, be creative. Try, some unbalanced line. Try, 3 receivers, come out in first down with 5 receivers and an empty backfield. You got to try something different. You're not seeing that from Cincinnati. They got to do something. If you can't protect the quarterback, run the ball more. So, come out with 3 tight ends on first and second down. I'm seeing none of that. So good teams, come off, consecutive road losses, and they usually win against, bad teams. But the problem is the Bengals are not a good team, and the Lions, quite frankly, are a very good team. So I think the Lions here, they just score in bunches here. They're almost unstoppable. Both their receivers, even their tight end, Laporta is very good. 2 good backs, better than anything that Cincinnati has. So they protect the quarterback. They have a quarterback rolling. They got everything moving right now in the right direction here. Blowout special. I have Detroit doubling up Cincinnati 34-17.
Yeah, and when you look at the Bengals, you see how good Jamar Chase is, but at the same time, you feel like Chase had such a connection with Joe Burrow when they, together at LSU and all this other stuff. T. Higgins is still very good, but the running game is near the bottom of the NFL in rushing yards per game. And like you said with the Lions, there's so many guys on that offense that you don't know who could get it at any time. So we'll see. And Detroit, look, they got their bad game out of the way, it feels like, in week 1 against Green Bay. They've been really good over the past 3 weeks. So a lot of NFL we have covered so far today. We'll go back to college for Saturday. The Canes and the Seminoles meeting up in Tallahassee. We'll have the lock of the day coming up next right here on Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets continues here to Friday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And 2 old rivals, Miami and Florida State. They hook up in Tallahassee. FSU stubbed their toe in double overtime against Virginia last week, so they're not undefeated going into this one, but still big game as the Canes are favored on the road. Time now for the lock of the day.
Open it, open it, open it! Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
We'll say this, Lee, before we get into the analysis, that I think we overstated Florida State's ranking a little bit, that they beat Alabama week 1, good win for them, and we see Alabama's obviously bounced back the last few weeks, but that still was a 2-10 team last year, and they have made strides. You can only get better at 2-10. Maybe they were like 15 or 18. They weren't a top 10 team, so I wouldn't call it a big upset losing to Virginia last week. But that's where Miami's just a better team than Florida State. So I don't look at any of the luster being lost from the Virginia game. But at the same time, though, still a big game Saturday night. We'll see if Mike Norvell can get FSU back on track. We'll see if Mario Cristobal doesn't fall over himself in this game with the Canes. So with that being said, Canes, Noles, Tallahassee, what do you think Saturday night?
All right, so I thought Florida State was by far the better team in that game against Virginia. I just thought that the coaching was not great. I mean, they could have gained 6, 8, 10 yards almost every time they ran the ball. Some fluky plays, as far as the interception, the bobble in overtime, things like that happen. But strange things happen sometimes on these night games, midweek games, and, you can't explain it. We're probably going to look back at the end of the year and say, how did Florida State beat Alabama? Because I do believe that Alabama is going to be in the college football playoff. Just shows you anything can happen. So Miami, the key to get to Miami might be make them play a different type game. And you're saying, okay, well, let's see how it plays out. Maybe the most important thing might be the coin toss. If I'm Florida State, if I win the coin toss, I'm accepting the ball. I want to put the pressure on Miami. We haven't seen Miami play from behind, and if Miami was to get down by 10 or 14 points, you might see a different Miami. They can't be patient and then just, ground and pound you. But if Miami gets a lead, that offensive line that is right there with Oregon, I think the best 2 offensive linemen in the country, they're going to have success. What shocked me going into that game, and I did not play the Virginia-Florida State game last week, just laid off it. I'm like, something's wrong with this line. Either Virginia's going to beat them outright or Florida State's going to win the game by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Virginia was without 2 starting offensive linemen, and they still ran for 211 yards. I don't think the talent level, like you said, is there for Florida State yet, probably a year or 2 away. And like I said, I think this line for Miami is special. They've got 3 backs they can interchange that run hard, fast, catch the ball out of the backfield. That's surprising. All 3 guys are also really good receivers. The receivers aren't as great, but this Miami team is better overall, I believe, than last year. Offense, not as dynamic, not as quick scoring, but they beat you up physically. Defense, much, much better. And special teams are solid. As long as Mario doesn't mess it up. And early in his career, I heard, he'd get tight late 3rd, early 4th. He would start telling his coordinator, run it a couple times on 1st and 2nd down, then throw it on 3rd. So I think he's giving his coordinators a lot more rein here. I think that's the difference. Miami was a 21-point favorite last year and won 36-14. I don't think Florida State's quite there yet. Under a touchdown, I think Miami's the call. We're going to go the level 2 lock to end the week on Friday. Miami Hurricanes, they win and cover this game 31-23.
And Miami, again, big game for them here on the road. They've been at home the whole season. So now, still in the state of Florida, going up to Tallahassee. But first time on the road for them. And this 3-week stretch of USF and Florida and FSU, or 3-game stretch of USF, Florida, and FSU. So we'll see how the Hurricanes respond in this one. Now, Lee, we have a big football weekend, Saturday with college, Sunday with the NFL. What's going on with Paramount Sports?
Well, we're going to try to stay on this run. We've won 11 straight NFL games. That's right. You heard me correct. 11 straight NFL games. We hit our I rate my games from 10 to 50 units. We hit our 40-unit college play last Saturday in South Carolina, blowout over Kentucky. We're now 73-29 lifetime on our major wager, max unit, 40 to 50 unit releases. So We have another one going this weekend, 45-unit play. You'd like to hop on board. We don't call it October. We call it Locktober. Every single game from this weekend all the way through the end of the month, the 31st. So you're going to get 4 weeks of action. Use coupon code SAVE100, just $497. Locktober special, ParamountSports.com. Also, UFC, 7 selections, $57. In the 6 years we've been doing it, we have never had 2 40 to 50 unit plays on one card. We have 2 fights where I've identified the fighters we think that's going to be over early. So you want to get the first ever UFC card with 2 40 to 50 unit selections, just $57. It's an immediate download, so you don't have to wait until Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon for it. As soon as you purchase it, window pops open with all 7 selections. That's available. Baseball playoffs were hot there. What else? We got baseball. If you want player props or our selections through the World Series, $97 each. Everything's up and available. Biggest weekend ever for our selections. Just one place, ParamountSports.com.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, as we have the show up there every day from Monday through Friday. Also, the podcast version of the show on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. Best of luck this weekend. It should be a lot of fun with the football. We'll recap it all on Monday. For Lee Sterling, I am Kevin Rogers. Thank you again for tuning in to Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.